I really think that today you are going to be blessed as we introduce to you Tammy De Armas, who serves Passion Life Ministries as our Director of Mission Advancement. Tammy brings a passion and a biblical awareness to the idea of getting people involved in this kind of ministry that I think is going to, quite frankly, be a tremendous blessing to you today. Join us.
Thank you for joining us today. Mark and I are excited to have a conversation about the future. Again, every time we see a calendar turn over, we start thinking about strategic plans and goals and aspirations and how God may use us and change us and transform us. And so today we want to talk about some of those things. But instead of just talking about it, we really wanted to bring in someone who we think is a visible, walking, incarnational testimony of what it means to have your life transformed and brought from one place to another, and to be really living out the grace of God in a fullness, so that all of us can take hope in whatever changes that we want to make in our own lives in the coming year. So I want to thank you for joining us. And Mark, it's good to see you today.
Hi, John.
Maybe you can introduce our very special guest.
If you haven't met, if you haven't met any of our behind the scenes team members, if you will, besides John and myself, you'll be blessed today to meet our colleague, Tammy De Armas. Tammy lives in Escondido, California, and she's been working with us for a number of years as our Director of Mission Advancement. So, Tammy, it's great to see you today. I'm glad you were able to join us. Thanks for coming on.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm happy for people to kind of get to see your face and know you, because a lot of people see John's face and my face, and you have a much better face than either one of us do. And
there you go.
It's nice for people to be able to know who is behind the scenes doing all these other absolutely necessary and important roles to get to know Passion Life as a whole. So maybe you could tell people who you are and what your role with Passion Life currently is.
Sure. Well, I'm the Director of Mission Advancement, as you said, and I have the privilege of working with the ministry partners across the country. And when they come to us, when they first start meeting with us or giving a donation, it's my job to reach out to them and find out who they are, and find out why they're giving and what's in their hearts and minds. And that's just a privilege as far as I'm concerned, because it's behind the scenes, as you all say, but it is actually the scenes, because these people are buoying all of us up to be able to do the work that we do.
Yeah, it's behind the scenes in terms of most of our podcasts and our brochures, but it is definitely the one-on-one personal work of helping people feel really, really connected to the mission. And it's just an indispensable thing that you do. Remind me how long you've been with us at Passion Life, Tammy?
It'll be 5 years in March. So
yeah, a good long time.
Mm-hmm.
Good long time. Well, that's wonderful. Well, we're looking forward to letting people hear a little bit about your vision for Passion Life and how you approach your job and all those things. But before we do all that, maybe we could back up and just let you tell us a little bit about your personal story, just whatever has happened in your life that would lead you to a point of becoming the advancement director for a missions/pro-life organization like Passion Life.
Yeah, many components to it. As John often says, many of us are here on the road of repentance. And that is part of my story too. When I was 19, I fell on the battlefield of abortion. And through God's grace and God's mercy, that 19-year-old young man and I are still married today at 38, 39 years coming up, with 3 kids and 6 grandchildren, 2 on the way this
Beautiful.
year.
Redemption.
But
yeah,
it's total redemption. And we didn't see it all that. For the first 10 years after that abortion, we just went about our life. And I was a Christian. I was raised in a Christian home, but I just didn't think my dad had just died tragically. And I didn't think my mother would be able to handle this. So I took it myself. And I remember praying and asking the Lord, I promise you, I'm your girl. I'll be back, but I have to do this. Uh,
Mm.
but what
Wow.
since I was in control, and and looking back, I wasn't trusting him with
Yeah.
what we were facing, and he did. He has me back tenfold.
Yeah.
Um, only
Yeah.
going back.
Tammy,
Wow.
I've known you for 5 or 6 years, and I've never heard you put it that way. That just really gives me chills to hear you say, "Hey, God, I'm all yours, but I got to step aside and do this thing that I know is gonna displease you, and I'll be back as soon as I can put myself back together."
Oh
Mhm,
my. Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yet,
Yeah, if I can just interrupt there too, Tim, it just seems to me again for those who are watching, I think it's worth taking a little yellow highlighter under what you just said, that I was a Christian at the time. You weren't just a nominal Christian, you knew what you were talking about, you were involved in scripture, but you found yourself in that place. And I just think it's a very, very important thing for people, especially if you're in any kind of Christian ministry today, small group, working with youth, young people, Sunday school teacher, pastor, elder, deacon, that you recognize that abortion is happening every day in our own midst by people who, from every observation, are claiming to follow Christ. And you're an example of someone who really got, in effect, drawn in and trapped in doing what you didn't believe in at the time.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, you
Yeah.
hear many people say, I was pro-life till it happened to me, and then
Mm.
I had to take over on this. I
Wow.
mean, my whole as a child, I only wanted to be a mom. I loved to have my baby dolls and always wanted babies. So that
Mm.
was very, very difficult, but I also wanted him too, and I think we we choose other things, whether it be the career, whether it be the guy, whatever it is that
Mm.
you
Mm.
turn from God on many parts on that. And God did
Remind
it
me.
because I did actually go back to the university where we were going back at the
Mm-hmm.
time. And when they had the grand opening of the pregnancy center right next to the Planned Parenthood that we went to, I was the keynote speaker. So
Wow.
God had me back, not me.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
I
But
remember.
some work, there's
Hmm?
a lot of work of grace, as you mentioned, between going to Planned Parenthood and being that keynote speaker and at that dedication.
Yes,
I mean,
looking out
that's
the
why
window and
you're a
thinking,
walking testimony of grace.
mhm.
Maybe you could tell our people how you found that freedom and that grace, and how you were able to walk in victory rather than just being cowering in defeat like so many people actually do.
Yeah. Well, our church had a speaker come and share about her testimony of having an abortion. And
Mm.
at that point, I was sitting in the balcony with my husband, and I started weeping because I thought I was the only one in this big, beautiful church here in Escondido that had
Yeah.
fallen on this battlefield. And I was
Mm.
going to go to my grave with no one knowing about this because these were holy
Mm.
people, and I was the heathen that was sitting there trying to just get in. And through that, went and started to try to volunteer at a pregnancy center, to which they wanted me to go through post abortion counseling. And I said, no, I'm healed, I'm forgiven. So there's a pattern.
Mm.
I'm a survivor.
Mm.
I'm going to do it all on my own. Yes, there's God, and He's good enough for everybody else, but is He good enough for me too?
Mm.
And
I just wonder if there are people listen to this podcast today who feel the same way, who may be weeping because they're hearing your story and saying that's exactly how I feel or have felt, and would love to experience the freedom that Tammy has experienced.
yes. And they to step out and to go to their church to find where there is healing. And many of us
Mm.
go kicking and screaming. I did go kicking and screaming and didn't even volunteer because they had said I needed to do that, till I ended up being on their board of directors. And it wasn't until after I was in there, they said, would you please go through this? This will benefit you. And that's what I could say to the listeners. don't do what I did. Take take counsel of wisdom of
Mm,
people around you,
mm,
and it's for your own healing. It will rip those onion layers off, as we talk about.
Mm.
yeah.
And so you can receive that healing and that grace and that mercy and that real truth there, not the lies that we're believing about ourselves. Most of the women, ultimately, I ended up running the pregnancy center, which you guys know, for 10
Mm-hmm,
years. I was the
mm-hmm,
CEO there, and I could walk into the waiting room and see the look on all those young women's faces and remember walking in feeling that way. When I walked into Planned Parenthood, I didn't want to be there. There was no pregnancy center at the time, and we
mm-hmm,
didn't know what to do. But to know that the pregnancy centers are the Underground Railroads of our time. They're here to help you. Many of us have fallen on this battlefield, and we just
mm,
want to help people stop the pain, stop the bleeding, and find truth and redemption and forgiveness and
mm.
grace.
So, again, I'll pull out my yellow highlighter, my verbal yellow highlighter on some of the things that you have said. And it just seems to me that one of the things I heard you say is that there was sort of a 10-year gap between the time that you had your abortion and the time that you sort of, quote, dealt with it. And in between, it was, I'm okay, I'm fine, never going to bring this up, never going to talk about this. And so it's this initial moment in which you were, again, by the grace of God, willing to kind of let it all out, so to speak, or to acknowledge that maybe you are forgiven in some sense, in an intellectual sense or something, but you weren't set free at all because you were living and managing this secret, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Exactly.
I mean, it seems to me that's the biggest indication of someone who's experienced what you've experienced is that you basically went from secrecy to testimony.
Mm-hmm. I think, John, that uh, people talk about hearing the Lord and whatnot. There's that quiet little whisper that
Mm,
just continues to prompt, and then it goes away, because I
mm,
don't think we as frail humans can handle where he wants to take us. And
mm,
I often call it my encounter at the microwave, because the kids were swimming in the pool, and I was thinking about this discussion at church, and I remember saying, if I admit that this abortion is wrong, then I
mm.
really don't love those 3 kids swimming in the pool right now.
Ooh,
That's where the
ooh,
enemy got me. And it makes no sense to me now, but at
yeah.
that point, it was so clear that I wasn't gonna not say that I so I had to say that the
Okay.
abortion was correct, and I
Wow.
remember hearing, "I have that baby in heaven. I blessed you with those 3. I'm asking you to use your mouth and share with others." And I slammed that
Wow.
microwave so hard, I'm surprised we still have it, because I said, "Fine, I'll do it." And I don't think
It's a
that
great
I'm
thing.
abnormal. I think a lot of us come kicking and screaming because we wanna justify our position. Because to love
Mm,
that baby in heaven and to love these 3 here is what a mother does, and I
yeah.
was feeling like
Precisely.
I had to make that choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Mm,
Tammy, you experienced all that. Obviously, it was transformative and life changing. And by the grace of God, you found not just forgiveness, but as John describes, freedom
Mhm,
to not have to keep a secret anymore, to turn that secret into a testimony, a powerful testimony, so powerful that you went on to become the CEO of a pregnancy help center and help other women and families
mm,
consider abortion in light of
mm.
God's truth and save thousands and thousands of babies'
mm,
lives to God's
mhm,
glory.
mm. Making the
Yeah,
mess.
and I would also add, it's I know, and maybe we can address this too, but you're also dealing every woman or couple that came into your pregnancy center, probably close to 40 or 50% of them also had abortion in their background.
Mhm.
And so it's not just about saving that growing baby there, it's also about giving them an opportunity to hear about the new life, the life change, the transformation, the grace of God to forgive and set people free that is also integrated into the 10 years that you were there at the pregnancy center.
Mhm.
You want to comment on that as well?
Well, I think the verse that comes to mind is speaking for those who cannot speak. We
Mm,
always think that's the baby who cannot speak. But I viewed it as a board member and as the CEO, as the women and the men that have fallen on the battlefield, and they can't
yeah.
speak about it. So to bring that up, and when you share the testimony, people come up to you or text you or call you and say, this happened to me. How do I do this? How do I do this?
Okay.
I've never heard anybody speak about this. We talk about shedding the light in the darkness, and this
Mm,
darkness all over, all over. And in our churches, what is it? 1 out of 4 women, 46 and older, have had at least one abortion. So then
yeah,
that's the same for the men too. So they're
absolutely.
wounded warriors sitting there,
Yeah.
not being able to speak because we're going to go to our grave not saying anything. So that's
Well,
the abortion part of, um,
yeah. Before we transition to the set free side of your story and how over the years transformation, change, and ministry and service has just grown, again, I don't want to skip the fact that there may be people who are sitting, watching, and listening to you right now who this is their moment, like you had, where their courage finally wells up, where they feel like this is the Lord telling me, pop this bubble, break this secret. Uh, and they don't even, again, they don't know who to turn to. So, any advice for anyone watching right now uh, who is at that same spot that you were ready to come clean, so to speak, and be healed?
I I would say your local pregnancy centers throughout the
Uh huh.
US, for sure. Most of those directors, leadership will know of somebody that they can get you into post-abortion, classes. They can call. My number's on our, on our website.
Okay.
There's not a woman that doesn't want to speak to another woman who's fallen on that battlefield. There's that we're
Okay.
never not open. We will drop what we're doing and
Yeah.
go to that woman, because here's the other part that's going to happen there. She's willing to talk even today, whenever this comes out, but tomorrow the enemy's going to get a hold again,
Yeah.
and she might not want to. So, really trying to move that into action and have that be, get her to the next step, whether it's, um,
Yeah. So what I
post
hear you saying is if you're watching this and you're ready to confront and experience the transformation that you've had, contact your local pregnancy center and just make your need known and they're going to be ready to help you. And if that's not going to work, contact Tammy at Passion Life and we'll see how we can connect you to a group of people in your neighborhood who are
right,
ready to walk you through this experience. That's
yes.
Yeah.
beautiful.
Why don't we take a break then? And when we come back, we'll talk more about how these past experiences have launched you into the successes that you've had, both at the Pregnancy Help Center and ongoing here at Passion Life Ministries.
The U.S. accounts for only 3% of the abortions that happen in our world each year, leaving 97% of the crisis before us as a world missions challenge. Would you join us in serving where the need is greatest? Passion Life, rescuing the most vulnerable where abortion is most concentrated.
We've received a really overwhelming and wonderful response to this tiny baby fetal model that we've developed here in Passion Life. This fetal model is a medically accurate representation from the 9th week after conception. If you go to our website, we've got a way for you to not only send those tiny babies around the world, but find out a way that you can have some of those tiny babies come to you for your own use as well. Tammy, you have got an unbelievable story, one that I think is really God honoring and one that I think a lot of people can relate to. I'm really thankful that you came on today to talk with us and to share some of those things about your past. Maybe now at this point you can tell us a little bit about how that brought you to the Pregnancy Help Center, and then once you were at the Pregnancy Help Center, how you connected with PassionLife and ended up working with this group.
Running the pregnancy center, I love to be a leader and run the team. It was a blessing to um, encourage them, help see them learn, see them grow. I'm not a medical professional, and I would never, try to step in on the nurse's toes or anything like that. One of the things, though, that I did know was the ministry partners, and I would say to the nursing team, I said, "Those are your patients, but these are my people. These are the ones that I am seeing transform before my eyes as they come." Always wanting to find out why they're partnering with a pregnancy center. Everyone that partners with a pregnancy center has some story. So uh, we mentioned the word transformation. That's my goal in what I do, is to see transform lives. Should they want to be transformed? But it's always interesting to see the whys behind people's gifts. So when I decided to step down from the pregnancy center, I felt God calling me to global missions. I had been in a short-term mission in China with my church because they had sent me because of the abortion. And I always said, I don't want to do global missions. This is my place. I But once again, we see the pattern. God, I'm not going to do this. And so
Yeah.
I'm now, whenever he says something, I think, okay, I'll do it. And coming, John and I had spoken through for years, and we had been friends. And I always had said, if I ever did anything besides the pregnancy center, I would love to work for John doing development in the global aspect. And then when John told me about the 97% of the world's abortions occur outside the US, how
Bingo.
how not? How can I
Yeah.
not be a part of this? So it was a blessing that I'm here, and to see. Uh, I, for me, before, my donor base was Escondido, California, and now it's the US. And that is just such a that how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time and it's delicious? Because there's so much you can go to,
That's
to share.
yeah, that's great. A lot of people, I think, would have a hard time imagining themselves in a role where, quote unquote, your job is to see if you can get people to partner with, to donate to an organization. How do you approach that? You have a unique means of approaching that I really think people need to hear. Something that really is deep in your own heart.
Well, I think in fundraising, we talk about the ask. Um, I have to take the ask out of my thought process. It's an invitation. We're inviting them to come into what God is doing. And again, how can I not do that? Because if that's what God's called me to do, I want to honor God and do that. So by sharing what we're doing and how we're doing it, um, if there's a need, I have no trouble saying, would you consider being a part of this financially? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had to work through things like, oh, I don't want to offend somebody. I've had to get over that. I want to please the Lord. And I know that this is pleasing to the Lord. I know that this is a ministry that he is behind. And why not be that mouthpiece? There's a separate mouthpiece. There, you guys are all doing the trainings, but I'm the mouthpiece, and Lindsay's the mouthpiece for sharing with people here. So why not
Yeah.
invite them
And
in? There's
Lindsay, for those of you who are listening and may not know, Lindsay is the assistant, Tammy's assistant in the advancement
Yeah. Yeah.
department of our organization.
It seems to me, Tammy, that one of the things that you've done over the last 10, 15, 20 years is really develop sort of a biblical worldview on money, and gotten away from where we all would start would be, I don't want to ask people for money. And I felt that, 35 years ago. I don't want to start this ministry because I got to ask people for money. And it's a big wall to get over. And part of the way that I got over it, and it sounds to me like you got over it, is that's the wrong question. It is, if God is calling his people to do something, and there's joy in the service of the kingdom, and everybody wants to feel good about the impact that they've made, that turns the ask, like you were mentioning, into an invitation. Would you like to be a part of this and feel good about the impact that you've made? And that must be very liberating. I mean, I feel it just talking about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I
absolutely.
recognize also. Go ahead, Tammy. I don't want to interrupt.
No, well, the one thing, the Holy Spirit's the fundraiser. We can't put too much feeling into this, because if I call you and say, hey, just got $100,000 gift, I would want you to not say, well, that's great, Tammy, because I'm doing my job. By the same token, if I called you and said, John, it's been a terrible day, nobody's giving any money, that's not an indication of me. I'm still doing what I'm called to do. It's just that the doors open and close, but there's the Holy Spirit as part of that too. So
Yeah.
I have to think less of myself in this. I've been called to do this job and do it well. So that's what we have to do there.
Yeah, you're not a fundraiser. You
No.
are someone who's testifying to what God is doing and inviting people to be a part of it if they want to. It takes all the pressure off you and me and Mark as fundraisers. No, we don't do that. We're going to be about the Lord's business, and we're going to trust that somebody who gets $5 or somebody who can give $100,000 are, in the eyes of the Lord, are equal partners, giving according to what they can do. And they're going to be blessed, and part of what your job is to make sure that both the $5 donor and the $100,000 donor feel connected to what we're doing. And that is the great work for all ministry. So join a ministry, be a part of it, to the glory of God.